Farmers today are facing rising costs, volatile markets, and extreme weather. The A Better Way to Farm podcast digs into strategies to help you take control of farm inputs and maximize profit so your farm can thrive for generations. Remember to take advantage of our free resources at abetterwaytofarm.com. Now, from America's Heartland, here's your host.
I am reminded of the story from back in the day before we had GPS, and two neighbors were talking. One neighbor was talking about that he and the wife were going to take off on a 2-week trip. And the neighbor he was talking to said, well, did you get a good atlas? And the neighbor that was taking the trip said, doesn't really matter because we don't know where we're going. And if you don't know where you're going, any old road will get you there. Hey, Rod here at A Better Way to Farm, where we increase yields and improve profits. And I share that story with you because I think a lot of us are still taking a trip and we don't have a GPS and we don't have a map to take us where we want to go. Today I want to talk specifically about the importance of that map, and that map being our soil test. Guys, we appreciate you tuning in to today's episode. We welcome you. We hope that we'll give you some things to think about and to consider as you're working through the fall harvest season here. Everywhere I look at AgWeb, I look at all the emails that I get, I look at the different places that are sending me information and things I try to read on a daily or weekly basis, and everyone is talking about what are you going to do about the high input prices, what are you going to do about the low grain prices. I saw one agronomist, he said, you need to get with an agronomist that you trust, which is important, and I agree with that, but I also think it needs to be one who is not only that you trust, but that is actively searching, learning, trying to figure out how to do it new, how to do it better, how to make a difference. Because there are two kinds of people out here. There are people who've been in this industry 20 years, and they actually have 20 years experience because they've experimented, they've read, and they've learned, and they have 20 years of accumulated experience. There are other people in this industry who've had the exact same experience 20 times in a row. That's not the same, guys. Not even close to being the same. When we start talking about the importance of soil testing, it's so that we can make a difference, because how are we going to make a good decision on our inputs? Are we just going to do it the same old way? One of our buddies, Mason, said he was working with a grower, and the guy said, we haven't taken a soil test in over 10 years. So what does that tell me? Well, that tells me that they've just been doing the exact same thing. They've been getting a loadout sheet from somebody at a retailer somewhere, 150 pounds of DAP, 200 pounds of potash, whatever nitrogen we've been doing for the exact same way. Guys, it's not hard to figure out that we can do this. I heard someone, a retailer, made the comment the other day, was actually talking about A Better Way to Farm, and he was like, those guys, they're going to force everyone to go to banding. Because the fact of the matter is, guys, if we want to cut down on the rates that we use, if we want to reduce the inputs, then we have to embrace the 4 R's. We have to stop giving them lip service, stop running around saying, oh yeah, right product, right place, right time, right source, blah, 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 so we can make the people who are environmentalists happy. Guys, there's nobody on earth that can convince me that the right product, the right place, and the right time is to blow on anhydrous in October. And yet we're going to do it. We know that people are going to do it. And they're going to say, well, it's cheap, so we'll just put some extra on. If you're trying to manage your input dollars, guys, not having to allocate extra for loss is a far better program. If we ban, we can reduce the rates of all of our products. If we use the micronutrients, we can stop putting on too much phosphorus because it takes too much phosphorus to hide a zinc deficiency. Why not just fix the zinc? When I thought about that grower who hadn't taken soil tests in over 10 years, it really made me sad. Because the bottom line is, guys, this is our ticket out of this deal. We have to become very careful in what we do. It is critical that we put on exactly what that soil calls for, no more and no less. We want to achieve maximum yield for minimum input dollars, so let's manage them. Let's dive into some of the things we would like to see done on a soil test, and this one here will run counter to everything that's been beat into your head, because they all talk about grid sample, grid sample, grid sample, and I get that. For pH management, I'm a fan. I believe that is exactly a great idea to variable rate that calcium as we spread it out there, or that magnesium, and take care of that pH and fix that. We will still lay the field out into grids because in a 40-acre field, we want, 25 to 30 cores pulled, and we would like those to be symbolic of the whole field. And we're actually working on an app where you'll be able to go back year after year and go to the same place and pull those. But then we take those cores and we mix them together, and we're looking for a composite test. Why do we want a composite? Because we believe that in the order of how to best efficiently spend your dollars, number one priority, row place nutrients in the seed trench, 0 by 0, right with the seed, gets us the biggest bang for our buck. And no one can argue that. Placement is key. The 4 R's do apply, but let's get real with what they are, and let's make sure that we're putting it in the right place. And so when we put that in there, we have to be precise in what it is that we need. How much of the starter do we want? How much of the dry program will that replace? Because a good soil test will tell us that. How many ounces of zinc, magnesium, manganese, whatever it might be that we need, copper, iron. What are we going to do there? How much boron do we need that needs to be applied in a 2x2 band or with the nitrogen in some other capacity? Those are all things that we do, but here's what we know. We need a composite because what is in the planter at the east end of the field will still be in the planter tank at the west end of the field, and we're looking for equal opportunity nutrition for each and every plant. And guys, we have hundreds of people, if you'd like to talk to them, and can tell you how this works and what it does. What does a good test show? I'm sitting here right now staring at some tests from someone who sent them to me and said, holy cow, please help us, talk to us what it's about. Well, a good test will show NP and K, organic matter, CEC, pH. It will show you all of your different nutrient levels, not just NPK, but also your magnesium and your sulfur and your micros, zinc, iron, manganese, copper. We're going to take a look at all of these different things in order to ascertain what it is that we need to do. And I just want to share with you that it is important we do it. I also want to know what was the extraction method. The test that I'm looking at right now in front of me, and I'm going to be calling this individual here in the near future, the test that I'm staring at, they did an Olsen bicarb test, which is a good test. As a matter of fact, it's a test that we want to see. If your pH is above 7, the problem? Their pH was 5.5. On a pH of under 7, we want to see a P1, P2 Bray test. We want to see a Olsen test when it gets up above 7. We actually run both. Anytime the pH is above 7, it's automatic. We get both to get the most accurate reading. We want to make sure that that test is doing the right kinds of extraction. As we come in here for the K, we want to be using ammonium acetate. When we look at the micros, we want to be looking at DTPA extraction. And with boron, we add sorbitol as the extractant method in order to pull those nutrients out and be very, very, very accurate. I will go on record here. I've went on record multiple times saying I do not like a Mehlich 3 test. And you say, why? Don't argue with me. Just do a little research. And everything that I can find and read says that the Mehlich 3 test is cheap and it is ran to save money and that it is accurate on phosphorus plus or minus 30%. Plus or minus 30%. Guys, if I want a range that's that broad, I'll just throw some darts up at the board. Oh, and by the way, the Mehlich test is most accurate on phosphorus. The rest of it is more inaccurate. Now, I'm not here saying to do anything. I'm just telling you what we're looking for and what we encourage our people to do. That is why we run the S3C test, because it uses the extraction methods that we have discussed coming on through here. And I get people, they say, I have other people who go to my clients, they say, I would never test for micronutrients. The tests are inaccurate. Guys, if you're using a Mehlich 3 test, that is 100% true. I really don't know that there is a lot of reason to test for micros if I'm going to use a Mehlich 3 because they are wildly inaccurate, and that is not what we're after. We are very adamant about who we use. We like Midwest Labs. I would never talk down any of the other labs because there are many fine labs out there. However, we use Midwest Labs because when we do that, we get 2 sets of recommendations back. A lot of companies hold you hostage. You run a soil test through them. They give you recs back just simply for their stuff. We don't do that. Yes, we give you a set of recs that shows if you use our system, this is what you would do. We also give you a set of recs that say, hey, If you don't want to work with us, that is grand. We understand. We have a set of dry broadcast recommendations here ready to go to show you exactly what you should do. And so we really like that. I get into the deal. People tell me, well, what about fall versus spring? Spring's probably more accurate. That is true. I'm not going to argue that. However, what we have found is the most important thing is to be consistent. Now, clients who start with us in the month of February and March and it's too late for that first year, we're going to take a spring test. I'm going to try to move them to a fall test and keep them in a fall testing schedule forever. Why do we do that? Because it gives us time to react. Number one, there are tremendous discounts. We're talking about discounts ranging from 25 to 30% for early purchases. Guys, that's huge. If we can save 25 to 30% this year, we probably need to be taking a look at it. Number two, if we don't take the test until spring and we're trying to figure out what to do and it takes us some getting used to a new system, it cuts down on the time that we have reacting to what we want to, changes we want to make. So that being said, the best time to take a soil test is in the spring from an accuracy standpoint, but from the implementation, it's fall. And so we're going to push for fall test. We will have hundreds of thousands of acres being tested here starting right away. We are super excited about that to see those start coming in. And so we can start making those recommendations and helping the guys figure out what they're going to do. It is very critical. I sat down one time up on Interstate 35 in northern Iowa. I stopped to get lunch and I was just sitting at a booth all by myself and I was very much wanting to be left alone. And two young gentlemen sat down at the booth behind me, high back booth. They couldn't see me and I couldn't see them. Don't know who they worked for. But one of them was bragging about the fact, and I want you to listen closely. He was bragging about the fact that he had tested 10,000 acres of soil that morning before lunch. 10,000. You heard me right. Guys, I literally muttered to myself, not very well. I don't know if I could pull in that many fields. I mean, we're talking about, pulling into 100-acre fields and taking tests. I don't know if I could have pulled into 100 fields and punched one stinking core. And guys, that's not what it takes. We've got to pull a core for at least every 2.5 acres. And so I was like, wow, because here's the deal. The accuracy of your soil test determines the accuracy of the data, which determines the accuracy of the recommendations, which determines your profitability. And so this is important. And so we're not trying to test 10,000 acres a day. We typically feel like if we got 1,000, we've had a huge day and we've worked from before daylight till after dark in order to get that done correctly. It is very important that we go a uniform depth. If we're no-till, we're probably at 6 inches. If we're conventional till, we're probably going 8. But the most important thing is that we pull the test from exactly the same depth. If it's 6 inches, then mark that probe so that you're only 6 inches deep. If it's 8, mark that probe so you're going 8 inches. If you're using a collect and go, get a mark on that bit so you know that you're going in the ground exactly the same depth every single time. There are a lot of different things that you can do for a probe. When I was young and new and thought I wanted to save some money, I bought the cheapest probe I could get. It was about 14 inches long, and I had to bend over to put it into the ground every single time, and I quickly realized I'd made a huge mistake. I keep that probe hanging on the wall as a reminder of to not be stupid. We want to get a probe that we can put in the ground that goes in. We like one, if we're going to do a hand probe, we want to see the one that is 36, 42 inches long. It's got a step on it so we can go down with our foot. We want to mark it for the uniform depth. A lot of our guys do really like the collect and goes where they just use a drill bit. They come out and they have the bucket with a hole in the bottom and they drill down and they get the uniform depth each and every time. The bucket's already there. It's clean. They mix that soil very, very, very well. And then they use the soil out of that mix and put it in the bag and send it in. Guys, we feel strongly that this S3C test through Midwest Labs will make you a lot of money. I get guys going, oh man, I don't know, I can't afford to soil test. Including the price of the test and the people to come and get it, it will be less than $5 an acre. In today's input cost, it doesn't take long to save $5 an acre in input cost. Nor does it take long, even with corn that's less than $4, to make an additional $5. That's one right decision, just one right decision. Guys, I believe strongly that in this situation that we're in, the very first dollar we need to spend is on soil testing. We would love the opportunity to help you. We have people who will come and pull soil tests for you. If you so desire and you're working with us, they will come and they will assist you, or they will do it. And when they get done, you will have good data to make good decisions with. Or we are happy to empower you and to tell you how we want it done and talk you through that. So if you're interested in some more information on this, reach out to the team. You can send Karen a text at 641-919-5570. Send us a message over there that you're interested in soil testing, and someone will get a hold of you. Guys, we really appreciate you taking part, listening to the podcast. We love to be a little bitty part of your life, and hopefully we bring you some things to think about and to help you to make a little bit more money in your farming operation. And we just want to say that we appreciate you guys, and we really do hope you're having a better day.